Hello and welcome to this, our fourth webinar in the Home Learning series. If you're interested in watching recordings of those earlier webinars, you can find them on this page. Today we're going to be looking at a real game changer when it comes to setting homework. Actually, it's not just in the setting. FrogPlay truly builds on the principles of home learning through the use of games built into the quizzes. Students voluntarily choose to take the quizzes to earn credits, which they can then use to unlock more games, and I'll be showing you some of that shortly. My name's Graham Quince and I'm a Solutions Architect here at Frog Education. Please feel free to ask any questions at any time using the form on the side of your screen. I'll keep an eye on that during the presentation, but I'll also make sure I've picked up any questions I've missed at the end. So, why games-based learning? Don't be fooled by the title FrogPlay. This is a unique product in education which combines a dozen question styles with instant rewards to stimulate engagement. The games themselves can sometimes be seen as a distraction, but that's really missing the point. In order to access any games, students must first have to complete several questions. Depending on how they do on those questions affects their power-ups in game. They then get to play one level of the game, and trust me, it's not long enough. At that point, they have no option but to answer more questions to get another go. This simple use of games and challenging tasks mimics how students play when using tablet devices throughout the countless games apps that are available. And we have lots and lots of examples of students pushing beyond a scheme of learning in order to continue gameplay. Why do they do this? Well, they do this because a quiz stops rewarding when a student has performed well in it. In order to gain further rewards, the student has to move on to the next quiz in the series. A great example of this student-led learning is the current UK #1 school in the FrogPlay World Championships. We'd expect that actually with them being the #1. But Yardley School students completed 61,000 hours of quizzes in FrogPlay in 2 months, which saved their teachers a massive 8,500 hours of marking. Let's just pause for a second and take a moment to consider that, what we're actually saying. In 2 months, one school saved enough teacher marking time that it's covered an additional 4 teachers, 4.7 teachers in fact. Imagine that. Imagine what you could do if you had all that time back. You'd be able to focus on teaching and learning and being able to spend more attention on your students and their learning needs. I guess what I'm talking about here is data interpretation as opposed to data entry, which effectively is what marking and recording of those marks is. Now, I keep throwing in the name FrogPlay, but as far as home learning goes, it's all one product. We've built in all the features of FrogPlay into Frog Home Learning for you. So I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint now and show you what that looks like. So here I am, I'm logged in as a member of staff and I've got access. Again, this is all built into a page for you. It's called Quizzes. You open it up and you have all of these quizzes. Now, just to start with, we have any quizzes you have created, and I talked about that a little bit in the Quiz Builder webinar, and can happily go into more detail and answer any questions you have on that. I then have school quizzes. Now, this is a blank platform that we just set it up for these webinars. If my colleagues were creating quizzes, they could be sharing them inside here so that I'd be able to use them as well. We then have 2 other categories. We have FrogPlay Quizzes. Now, FrogPlay Quizzes, we've actually gone out and paid for professional educators, most of them are classroom teachers, to have written these questions for us, and they're categorized around key stages and the past papers and exams. And we've even gone to the Standards and Testing Agency, and their chief markers have written a whole set of Year 6 catch-up quizzes for us to use, so that those students who need to go through in Year 7 their SATs that they'd not done too well in English and Maths, they're all built in as well. I'm going to come back around to FrogPlay in a moment, but I'm going to show you community quizzes. Now, these are quizzes created by any member, any school who has got FrogPlay, who has chosen to then share it on the community. So while these are if you like, paid for commissioned quizzes in FrogPlay Quizzes, the community quizzes are written by educators just like you who've been preparing quizzes and then been happy to share them out. Now, with any quiz, I can click to view the questions, Let me click on that again. So I can see if this question or this quiz is appropriate for me, and I can scroll through and see what's there. Now, I've obviously picked quite a complex looking one, but I might find that this language isn't appropriate for my students, but the concept of it is. So what I can do is I can go to the action cog and I can duplicate this quiz. So at this point I've then got my own copy of it, and I can now edit that quiz myself, so I can make those changes. So again, I'm not actually having to sit down and think up questions. I'm able to just use somebody else's quiz very quickly and very easily, and that works just as well in the FrogPlay quizzes too. So if I select this one, I've got that duplicate. Now actually, one other thing I should point out is if I go to community quizzes, you'll notice if I select anyone here, the students don't get to see these quizzes because I've no way of checking if they're appropriate for my students. Yes, they've been done by educators in other schools, but I don't know if the question type's right or anything. But I can choose to make it visible with that enable for students, otherwise they won't find that. Anyway, let's just jump back over to the FrogPlay quizzes. As I say, these are the commissioned ones, and we'll select Key Stage 4 and English, and I'll filter. Obviously I could put year groups in, I could search for keywords up there, but I'm just going to, only because I, in my rehearsal for this, tried this one out earlier, so hopefully I'll get at least one question right. I'm going to look at advertising and media texts. I can actually open it up and double clicking on it, I can work through it on quickfire and play the quiz, or I can just view the questions. Oh, I think I must have hit the reset button. There we go, there's our advertising. So when I've got my quiz and I'm ready to use it, I can then go to the action cog. I can do this through the quick assign. There was a quiz in there, and if you remember the webinar we did on setting homework in 30 seconds, I could do it that way. However, this time I've decided to browse through it and find it. And I can hit assign. It opens up that same very quick assignment system. It's English. I could put some instructions in here, and I'll set a due date for tomorrow, and I'll assign it to just a single student. And that's all I need to do. Now I can hit assign, and that work has gone off to the student. Let me just drag that out the way. Drag that out the way for the moment. This is something I'm going to show you in a little bit once it lets go. But I am going to, I've already logged in as a student, and I'll just hit refresh so we can see that turn up. And here's the student view of HomeLearning. Here's Andrew's assignment calendar. There was a test I set him earlier on, and here's the one we've just set him, this advertising in media text. And when I open this up, I can see he's got his homework, when it's due, and I can click Launch Quiz. Now at this point, I've assigned it and I've allowed the games. I can talk about that in a little bit, but as you can see, and this is where the gamifying starts, Andrew has 1,000 credits. But look at all these games that are padlocked that he can't play yet. And the only way he can play them is if he clicks on one. He can choose to spend the money. To unlock this game will take him 200 credits. Now, I say spend the money, spend his credits. He could just do this as a quickfire. He could do this with one of the free games he's got. For now, I'm just going to select Goals of Glory. But you can see where the gamifying starts, where those instant rewards are built in. Now, let me go full screen so we get to see this a little bit better. And I'm going to start the quiz. Match the advertising technique to the effect. So this is a card sort, a drag and drop, and so let's see. One of the beauties about FrogPlay is that the questions randomize. So we'll click on that one and drag it in to that one. I think we're going to be getting this wrong, but there you can see. And when I've done, I can hit submit. I got the wrong answer, so I'm going to have less time to play. Now, I can retry this, and of course, when I'm assigning it, I could have turned that off, but I'm going to skip. When examining a non-fiction text, you need to be aware of who the audience is. Who is the audience for this poster? That's going to be children. And now when I submit it, I've got the right answer, so I've evened out. Who is the audience for this poster? So it's the smoking kills. I think probably smokers and anyone thinking of smoking. Why might this image encourage children to use the crossing? There are other children using it? No. You can see how busy they're. No, you can't. It's monochrome? No. The lollipop people look happy and friendly. Well, to be honest, that's the only one that fits, so I'm going to assume that that's correct. Context is very important in understanding media and non-fiction. Which of the following is not an appropriate location to display this poster? So, vodka and orange, rum and cola, gin and tonic, lager and lime, alcohol and driving. Some things just don't mix. In a primary school, in a hospital, in a men's magazine, in a pub. I would say this isn't appropriate in a primary school, because while they can certainly nag their parents, they're not exactly going to necessarily know about mixers anyway. Hey, I got the correct answer, so I've had 3 correct and 1 wrong. I now get to choose my team, because this is a football game. We'll go with the Blues. And then I press space to start. So this is quite a simple, it's not a true football game, but it is quite a lot of fun. Oh no, I'm 1-0 down. So now I've got a chance to even it up, and I've missed the ball. Oh no, I'm going to score again. No, I managed to not. Right, here we go. Now you can see the timer clicking down at the counting down at the top, and this is going to go in. Yes, it is. I'm now 2-0 down. So that's it. Full time, 90 seconds. I want to play this game again, and I can't because, or rather, I will be able to when I've answered a couple more questions. But very frustrating. I've now got the hang of the game, but I now have to answer more questions. And this is it. This is the gamifying side. So let me just jump out of there. Hopefully you can see immediately, you could probably tell from my voice, I was getting into that game, I was wanting to play further, but I've now got to go in again. Now imagine I'm doing this voluntarily. So yes, this is being assigned, so it's a mini reward for doing my homework. But when I'm finished this, and maybe I've only got 90% or 60%, I know that if I play it again, and I know I've got quite a few of those questions right. In fact, what I can do is I can click finish. You can see I got question 1 wrong. I could go back into this and I could replay. Obviously, as a teacher, I could be turning that feature off so that students can't retry. But this is encouraging me to have that, to do that, so that I can get better. Now, what that means is if I drag over this report, this is one of the, in fact, this is some of the question level analysis we have. And this is a quiz that I set out to a group of students in my class 7R. It's a negative numbers quiz. And I can see, I can go in this view. And this tells me each question. I can see the students or which students have got it incorrect. And I can click to expand that. I think it goes down to the bottom, but that wasn't what I was intending to do, because what I really want to show you is I can switch over to the matrix view, and I think this is where there's such huge power available. So here are all my students, and these are all the quizzes in the questions in the quiz. And as you can see, Casey has done very, very well, although she started to skip questions at this point where she just didn't know the answer, and then she's got some wrong. But if I start moving down, I can see that this column in particular, students are getting it wrong and other students are skipping it. So what's going on in question 6? Well, I can click to view the question and I can see that it's a negative numbers quiz, and in this question it's about using weight and taking 99 kilograms off the weight of the race car of 1,107 kilograms, and students have to free text that answer in and they're getting it wrong. Now, It might well be that because a lot of them are putting a space, and in the accepted answers when putting in a free text they've not left a space, although they could have just been putting in the number. That was all that was expected. But something says they're getting it wrong. Now let's have a look further along the line, and I can see that question 18, while it's got quite a few getting it right, I've got some others that are also skipping and some reds. Let's have a look at question 18. Now this is numbers. This is crowd numbers. So, but it's a larger proportion. And actually, even though this is about negative numbers, this is adding up. So this isn't. There's no correlation here. There's nothing telling me on that one. Is there anything that the students are struggling with? I've just got two questions that they've both had problems with. Actually, as I talk to you, I'm scrolling up and down, I'm looking at question 11. I've only got a few got it wrong, but I do have a few more skips. And now here we've got a high jump target. So this is another measurement one where we're talking about a negative measurement. So I'm now starting to see maybe there's a correlation. Maybe there's something between question 6 and question 11 where students can apply it fine on paper with a mathematics measurement, but when you're putting it into a real world, that there's a problem. And maybe I need to focus on that. And looking at question 19, I've got some more analysis I can do there. And here we go, another one where students have struggled and there's a gap with skips. It's another weight one where they've not been quite getting it. So maybe real world application of negative numbers is something my students are struggling with, and I should do a little bit more focus on. And that's where I think there's some real power. So I'm just going to jump back to our PowerPoint. Now, one thing I didn't show you there, mainly because I'm video streaming this and I'm not sure if a video would play in a video stream, so I've just got a slideshow so apologies for that. But it's something I haven't mentioned that comes with FrogPlay, and that's the FrogPlay videos. We've got 600 to 700 video tutorials for English and maths now, and each video has a corresponding quiz which is automatically linked in for you. You can play these directly in class in this system going through the Frog Drive, or you can know that your students, if they're struggling, will be able to just watch these videos during the quizzes themselves. And that's it for today. Hopefully you found it useful. Before I get to your questions, I'd just like to remind you of our next webinar. We're going to be looking at the reporting available. So not the individual class level assessment we've just been looking at, but what your SLT and your pastoral staff have that overview. And if you are a member of the senior leadership team, I'll be delving down and showing you the analysis. Hopefully you can join us for that. So let me just check to see if we've had some questions in, and yes we have. We've had quite a few. I will try to rattle through these. I'd sort of already covered this first one, but can you turn off the games functions? Yes, you can do that in the two ways I'd mentioned. When assigning quizzes, you can actually select, in fact if I just jump back we'll demonstrate that. If I was to take this quiz and assign it, just got to select. Poor Andrew, will give him some more work to do. When I go to set a quiz, I can set it as an exam, which pretty much puts it in exam conditions. So the student can't go back and redo quizzes, doesn't get any feedback, and turns the games off. I can also set it to single attempt, so I might decide to do that separately, but again, so the student when doing the exam, when doing the quiz, can't necessarily repeat it, so you get their first answer. I've also got a few other features in here, including being able to set an exercise limit and a question limit, which fortunately brings me to my second question, which is some of the quizzes I showed had quite a few questions in there. I can see one just grayed out that has 54 questions. There are, the question that would come through is, are there short versions? There aren't short versions exactly, but what you can do is you can go into advanced question settings and you can set this currently you can set how many questions it's going to pick. So there were 27 questions in this quiz, and I'm going to set it to just show 20 of them. And I can set the individual ones, and I can randomize that if I wanted to, if I preferred. And the next question is I'd actually already covered this. This is about editing an existing quiz. So if I just close this down, yes, you can edit any of the quizzes that you see already. You make a duplicate of them. So we can just take this, duplicate it. If I go into this quiz here, and I can click edit, and it would have appeared here, and I could then go through and edit that. Now, next question is, can you switch off games? So yes, you can. So when I'm setting it to exam, I think I sort of covered this as a per exercise. You can switch off games, but also you can, if you so choose to, as a school, we can turn the games off for you. We really recommend against that because we've got plenty of proven examples that the games help the students engage. But if necessary, they can be done. What we can also do at the admin level is we can filter your exam boards. I don't know if you noticed there, but if I switch it to, say, Key Stage 4 exams, English, we'll just hit filter. So in this particular case on this platform, I've only got the 2, probably because we've already put the filters. But I could set them, I could set them to just be the AQA exam board for English or the EdXL or what have you. So that's all available to do. Now let's see. Can the students complete the quizzes and play games from a mobile device? Yes, absolutely. The MyFrog app will not only assign the work out and notify, students can not only hand in regular homework, but all the quizzes will load in on the mobile device and they can complete quizzes as well. And obviously all of Frog is mobile compatible, so if you get the students, they can log in themselves, find a quiz and complete that on the platform. So thank you very much. I think that's all for the questions. I'll just hit refresh, but no, I think that's it. If you have any further questions, please do feel free to email in, post on this link, and generally just stay in touch. But thank you for watching.